Hi friends, welcome to today's video. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to sit down and play with the new hot off the press Morphe eyeshadows. Yeah, you heard that right. Morphe, it's making its comeback with some new makeup launches that honestly, I've tested the majority of them and they're very impressive. So they're definitely doing something different with their packaging, the formulas, the whole aesthetic and vibe is different. And so now we have some new eyeshadow palettes, which are so cool. They also did launch some cream shadows in really nice sort of everyday tones that can be used on their own or as a base to an eyeshadow. So I'm going to show you the products that I ordered. I paid for all of these products myself. As soon as I noticed them on the Ulta site for purchase, I snagged them and I literally just got this package in the mail this morning. And it is downpouring outside. There's a storm, so you might hear that, some thunder and lightning. And yeah, I went out in the rain for this package, so we are diving right on in. I pulled up the Ulta app so I can give you all the details. Let's start with the smaller 6-pan palettes. These are going to run you $15 a piece. There are 6 options available on the Ulta.com website, also the Ulta app, and of course in stores at Ulta Beauty. And you can also order these directly through the Morphe website itself. So there are 6 options, and I chose to try out 2 of these smaller 6-pan palettes. The first one that I ordered is called Rich Glitch. Very cute. And Cyberchrome, also very cute. And let's talk about this packaging. It has that M for the Morphe brand name. And I love how each of these components looks different on the outside. And it's an actual plastic palette, so it's not cardboard like their other palettes, which I do love. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with those, but these are improved plastic. You get a mirror as well, and you get a nice eyeshadow formula. So look how cute these look. These are also the perfect size to fit in a makeup bag for travel. We are in that season of taking trips, weekend getaways, vacations, and this is definitely a very travel-friendly size. They also launched larger 12-pan eyeshadow palettes. These are $21. These only come in 4 options, whereas the minis come in 6 different options that you can choose from. So there's 4. I ordered 1 shade, and it's the one called Moonstone, and this is the one that has the more kind of cool vibes to it. I do like cool tone eyeshadows, and I thought this was kind of cool. And it also has that M on the design there. Again, same plastic component as the small ones with a mirror. The mirror is the same size as the palette, which is great. And it's a good mirror. It's not one of those kind of clown looking mirrors. It's a good quality one, which is important when you travel, like we talked about these being travel friendly, the small ones. It's important to have a good mirror that you can use to actually apply the products, and you don't have to pack a separate mirror because it's all in this one component. So I do like that. And I do think that $21 for 12 pans is a reasonable price that's still quite affordable. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. They're going to enjoy the range of options, the colors. Now, I'm not showing you every single product launch in this range of eyeshadow palettes. They do have some beautiful colors. So if there's a specific one that you would like me to use for a video or to help you create looks with, please let me know and I can go out and get those as well or order them so that I can create those looks for you. Also, new cream eyeshadows, which is great. You can use them on their own or you can use them as a base to some shadows. They kind of remind me of the MAC Painterly paint pots, especially that lighter color. I only ordered 3. These are the Solo Artist Priming Cream Shadows. There are 7 different options to choose from, and they're everyday shades from a light beige all the way to warmer, kind of darker, deeper tan shades. These are $10 a piece. The component is really nice. It's a gold cap that's plastic, but the actual jar itself is glass, so very elevated. It says Morphe right across the top, which is embossed and like kind of etched into the cap, which is really nice. Very elevated, very sophisticated packaging, and definitely not the Morphe that we used to know. This is a brand new Morphe, and I personally am here for it. I have enjoyed so far everything that they've launched. So I'm going to show you the palettes, the colors of the cream shadows, and we're going to create a look with these. This first mini palette is the Rich Glitch 6-pan palette. This next 6-pan palette is Cyberchrome. And this is the 12-pan palette in Moonstone. This is the Solo Artist Cream Shadow in Airplay. This is the Solo Artist Cream Shadow in Debut. This is the Solo Artist Eyeshadow in Chorus. Let's go ahead and create a look with these cream shadows and the eyeshadow palette. So I think out of the 3 Solo Artist cream shadows, I'm going to go for the lightest one called Airplay. This is going to be the closest one that I ordered that matches my skin tone. So I'm going to just use my ring finger to pick up the product. The warmth of your finger is really going to help spread this along. However, this formula is very creamy, soft, but when you do apply this, it does feel like it's a soft matte finish. I'm going to apply this directly onto my lids with my fingers first. The warmth of the finger will help kind of spread this along, and I'm going to do a thin layer to use in the way of a primer to set the lids before putting on powder eyeshadow. I'm not going to use as much as I would if this was my only eyeshadow for the day. With the Morphe M133 brush, I'm going to use that to blend the edges out. I use my Morphe M133 brush to blend this out, and the more I keep blending, the more it's starting to look like it's separating and it's not really wanting to blend. I'm not sure if it's because I had a little bit of concealer there or a little bit of translucent powder to set down my concealer. I typically kind of blend a little bit because I do have discoloration. I don't use concealer in the form of a primer, but it is a product that was already down first. Still very light. I mean, you can see here, there is some veining that you can see through my skin because I am pretty fair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and go directly into the product itself and pick up just a little bit and see if I get a better result on this side. And we'll kind of compare and see what the deal is, because I'm not sure why that's happening. If I compare the lids, it's much better. Like, this is kind of separate. I think I'm going to try to remove this and start over. But this is a lot better. Still not as perfect as I would personally like it to be. And again, that could be just mixing with some concealer that I had there. It could be my skincare, eye creams. There's a lot of reasons why this could be happening. So I'm slightly disappointed that this shade specifically is not working out as I had hoped. But it does not mean that I can't try it again in the future or that these other shades are going to do the same. Maybe it's just that lighter one. And maybe it's my eye cream that I had on from earlier. But we'll just try to fix this side so that we can actually create an eye look and give you my thoughts on this new eyeshadow formula. Okay, so this is what we ended up having to do. I took a wipe and I removed this side and reapplied with the brush. It is a little bit better. My skin does feel a little irritated there, so we'll kind of go easy with the blending with the eyeshadows. But I feel like this kind of shows any dryness, any texture on the lids. I don't know if it's just this color or if it's just this formula, but I'm not impressed with this shade specifically. We're moving on, so if it doesn't look very well blended, I'm going to try my best to cover it with the eyeshadow so it's not as visible and noticeable. So we're just going to kind of ignore that and we're moving on. I'm thinking that the Cyberchrome Cool Tone eyeshadow palette is going to be the one for today. There's something about it that's just calling me. I think it's just these really intense shadows in the very center. Those are those kind of molten metal shadows that you can use dry or wet. When you use a damp brush or you add a little bit of Fix Plus or some type of mixing medium into these, it will intensify the finish, which is the cool thing about this formula. And it also looks kind of different, so you can kind of tell when you look at the pans like that. So let's go ahead and swatch some of these colors. I'm going to start with the top row, so those top three. Ooh, that feels incredibly smooth, soft, and buttery. I feel like this formula so far, just off the jump, with this one color, feels so much more creamy and more intense, and just a different, improved formula from their other palettes, the cardboard ones that I've talked about, and I love those. This feels a little bit elevated from those. So let's go to that center shade there, which is a really bright silver, and that is a dry swatch. So imagine dampening your brush and getting this to look like liquid metal. So if you like silvers, you will love that shade. And let's do this gray one that looks like it has a hint of blue to it. And that is very, very pigmented. Again, soft, creamy, and smooth. So those top shades were Unplugged, Flash Drive, and Giga Gray. Cute names. So now let's do these kind of purpley, pinky tones at the bottom. Let's start with this one. That light pink. Ooh, she's pretty. I like that a lot. Look at that. And then let's go into this one. This is kind of like an icy lavender shade here. It's got a little bit of a duochrome shift to it. So it looks almost like white, possibly silver from a distance, but there is a purple shift to it. And it's kind of like a pinky purple actually. And that is a little less in pigment, but more of like a topper type of shade. That's really pretty. And then let's do that dark brown shade. Whoa. That is so soft and so smooth. So those are the three from that bottom row. And so those shades are called Pink Sink, Crosswires, and Private Cookies. Cute. So it has those kind of cyber references with the names, really cutesy. And those are very pigmented, soft, and creamy. So let me just put them onto the back of my hand so you can see those. Look how pretty that looks. There's just something about this color store that's kind of calling my name. These are the top three shadows from Rich Glitch, that top row. Do you see how intense This one is, that's that center shade right there, that molten metal type shade. And these are the bottom 3 shades. So these are Stealth Wealth, Cool Millions, and High Brown. I love that bottom row. That is so incredibly beautiful. Very, very pigmented. They're buttery, they're soft. And let me just show you just one swatch from my fingers just one time across without having to go back and forth. And that's the intensity of those. Again, they're doing something very different with these palettes, and I love this one. And again, that was the Rich Glitch. Before I go into the Cyberchrome eyeshadows, which are the cool tones for today's eye look, I do want to take a light shade, and I'm going to go into the smaller 6-pan palette in the Rich Glitch, and I'm going to use this shade here, which is kind of similar to the Airplay Cream Shadow, the Solo Artist that I put down as a base. I kind of want to set that just because it already gave me some issues just on its own, so I don't want to run into more problems as I'm blending the powder eyeshadow. So I'm going to take a little bit of that just quickly on a fluffy brush. This is a BK Beauty 202 brush. Inner corner to outer corner, sweep it up towards the brow bone. And now let's go into that mini palette, the Cyberchrome, and I'm going to start with this gray color here. And that is a matte finish, same brush, that 202 brush. Pick up just a little bit of this, and again, I'm going to tread softly because the pigment on this seems very intense. And I'm going to start applying this into my crease, just following the natural shape of my eye. And so far, this first darker shade with the gray tone seems to be blending nicely. Very pigmented and quite intense. And I'm going to slowly add and build this up to my desired intensity. Now, you can definitely customize the look to your preference. You can add a little bit more. Scale it back if you don't want it as dark. You can really do whatever you want with these palettes and add as much as you'd like. I'm switching brushes to an eyeshadow style brush. This is the Morphe M303 brush, and I'm going to take that darker, deeper gray that's on that same top row that looks like that. It has a little bit of a blue undertone to it. I'm going to use that on the outer part of my eye, so kind of like the outer V. So what I'm going to do is just take that brush and just kind of lightly stamp this color where I want it. And I'm mostly focused on placement at the moment. I'm not trying to get this blended and perfected. I just want to place down that color right where I want it. I'm using the width of that brush to basically cover this outer edge of my eye. Just patting, patting, patting. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking whatever's left on the brush, and I'm just kind of patting and also kind of rocking it like this motion, to get that darker gray that has that bluish undertone to meet up with that softer, lighter gray that I put as my transition initially in the crease. And I'm doing this motion here so that I'm not going to bring this color up too high because then it gets too dark and too intense. But I also don't want to have a gap where this color meets into that soft gray. So I want to make sure that right in my natural socket, as I push, I can get that deeper gray color. I hope all that makes sense. But that's kind of like my method when I'm using really dark eyeshadows, is just kind of nestle it and just lightly rock it back and forth. I'm going to go back to that 202 brush with no additional product. Whatever was left on there from earlier, I'm going to just go around the edge of that and blend a little bit. Again, keeping that color pretty low, not bringing it too high. I am now going to switch to a smaller, more detailed style brush for the lower lashes, that same dark color that I just finished applying to the outer V. I'm going to use a 204 brush for that step, and I'm going to rock that brush back and forth really close to the root of my lash, a little bit thicker out here and thinner as I work my way towards the inner corner. And I'm going to stop just shy of the actual inner corner so we can do a little bit of a highlight there. To help me blend the lower lashes just a little bit, I'm going to go back into that very first shade that I use as my transition shade, so this one right here. And I'm going to use that to soften and blend and kind of smoke out just a little bit more of that lower lashes so that it's not as harsh, just that one dark color. I want to have it a little bit more smoky, a little bit more blended. And what I'm going to do is switch to a smaller Morphe brush. This is the M383, which is kind of like their pencil style brush. For the lids, you have 3 options with this smaller palette. You can do these 2 kind of molten metal shades, or you can do this pink shade here. What I'm gonna do is use this one to show you what that looks like on the lid, but then I'm gonna top it, I think, with this kind of lilac, cool tone, lavender shade. It's, like I said, it's calling my name, so I'm gonna go in with the pink shade first. I'm gonna use my fingers to apply that one. I'm gonna press that onto my lids from inner corner to outer corner. And I'm gonna slightly overlap that line where that pink meets into the gray. And that is incredibly beautiful, soft, creamy. It's like those classic metallic finish eyeshadows. Love it. So you could stop here, but I'm gonna amp this up just a little bit more, and I'm gonna take this shade here and I'm gonna use my finger with it dry as a topper, and I'm just gonna press that right over the top. And that's gonna add just a little bit, just a hint more glitz. And it's so pretty, and I'm gonna go all over my lid. And that just gave a little bit of an icy kind of purple vibe to that pink shade. So that's what that looks like combining those two colors. And then this is just the pink. I think it looks cute. It's like a soft, light little touch, but it adds so much impact. I'm gonna take the last darkest shade in this palette, which is a really deep, cool tone brown, and I'm gonna use it as my powder shadow liner. And for that, I'm gonna switch to a Morphe 383 brush. It's a very flat, very thin and tiny detail brush. And what I'm gonna do is take that color on the very tip of the brush, tapping off the excess so we don't get any fallout. And I'm just going to stamp this at the root of my lash. I had this idea to use that really dark gray color to kind of smoke out that dark brown, just to give a little bit more gray towards the base of the lashes. So I'm gonna go back up to that shade here, and I'm gonna go back to that same kind of small pointy brush. That was the 383 brush, and I'm gonna take a little bit of that dark gray color, and I'm going to kind of blend right over that dark brown that I used for my liner, just to add a little bit of gray right at the base of my lashes. Just playing around with the colors, layering them, see what happens. And then let's take a little bit more of that kind of purpley shade and just kind of tap right in the very center. I did lose a little bit of intensity because I did blend right in this area. So I'm just gonna kind of tap with my finger, just a little bit. Just like a little center of the lid moment, like a little pop of color. So pretty. And lastly, for the inner corner highlight, I think I want to go back to the smaller pan palette, the Rich Glitch, and use that same shade that I used to prep my lids and go over the cream shadow. I'm just going to take a little bit of that on a BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A504 brush, which is a really tiny kind of wispy crease brush. I don't want to put anything too glitzy right in here because I do have a lot of that sort of glitter finish with that light icy lavender shade. So I kind of want to keep this just a little bit more on the lighter side. So that's why I'm going back to this palette. So I'm going to take that same color and go under my brow bone. I don't want anything glittery or too glitzy there either. And this shade is perfect. It's not a complete matte finish. There is a bit of a kind of satiny kind of sheen to it. It's really, really nice actually. But I don't want anything too glittery and glowy there, so I'm going to just use that. Now there is a little bit of fallout from using that icy lavender across the lids. And it's only because I use that formula dry. Now if you dampen your brush, you're not going to have issues with fallout. But because I use it dry and I was just kind of tapping it like a topper type of color to apply a minimal amount, there is some little fallout on my lashes. I did clean up under here with a big fluffy brush and a little bit of translucent powder, but it's still there, that kind of glowy kind of sheen to the face. So that is not like my complexion based products. That's just the eyeshadow. And it's going to happen if you do your eyes last after complexion. It's going to happen. So next time I think I'll do the eyes first and then my complexion so that I can easily clean that up. But the last thing to do is some tight lining and some mascara. I am back with the rest of my makeup complete. So this is the full completed eye look. What do you think about these colors? I actually like the way this turned out. It's a little bit deeper and a little bit more smoky than I typically go for every day, and it's a lot cooler than what I've been doing lately. I've been just honestly taking just my bronzer through the crease, which a bronzer has warmth to it, and something just light and quick and easy, like a single shadow, a one and done kind of moment, some mascara, and out the door I go. I've been so busy. There's just so much going on with my personal life that I just haven't had time to do full looks like this, and it's fun. It's nice and it's different. I like these colors, and yes, I will use this 6-pan palette again. Let me talk you through the rest of the product. So the mascara that I'm using is the Revolution Wrap Lash Tubing Formula. This is a new product for the brand. On my face, for complexion, I have the CoverGirl Blurring Skin Tint in the shade 410 Fair Neutral. I'm currently still testing this out. I have already reviewed this and I think that video was already posted. I am still continuing to use this because I do enjoy its blurring and it actually has really nice coverage. I used my Haus Labs Concealer in the shade 04 Fair Neutral. I set that, of course, with my L'Oreal Infallible Blur Perfection powder, the light pink one. And I did use this same powder, but the light translucent color to set the skin tint from CoverGirl, just to have a little bit of an easier blend with the next products. The bronzer today is from Dibs Beauty. This is the Baked Bronzer Duo in the shade Vanilla Latte, and I love this component. Vanilla Latte is the lightest shade in this Baked Bronzer Duo. Kind of gives me some Laura Geller kind of vibes. You know, she's known for her baked products, and Dibs has baked products and also some cream stick products. Speaking of Dibs, I also did decide to use the baked blush in the shade called Pop Star. And what I wanted to do was use a cool tone pink color for the cheeks, just because I feel like that goes best with these cool tone eyeshadow colors. So I used this bright light pink shade here. I did not mix in this kind of corally orange shade, just because that's too warm and it would not go with this eye look. So I did that and it gave me a nice soft sheen of color, but I wanted, honestly, a little bit more blush. Life is better with more blush, right? So what I ended up doing is taking my Urban Decay. These are the Face Bond blushes, and I have one shade. This one is called Wholehearted. This Wholehearted shade from Urban Decay is a really nice kind of bright classic pink color. I like how this formula is soft, silky, smooth. There is no shimmer to it, so I felt like it's a nice color to apply over the Dibs. The Dibs does have a little bit of a sheen just because it's a baked formula, so the two of those layered together is what I have. The highlighter that you're seeing is the new highlighter from NARS. It's the lightest shade. They just dropped some new highlighters and it's absolutely stunning, okay? I will link to everything down below. And then finally for lips, I'm using one of the new products from L'Oreal. This is their Longwear liquid lipsticks that they just launched. The shade that I'm using is 600 Les Nude Rose, and it's the perfect light pink everyday nude shade. It is still currently drying, so once this dries down, I can get a good 14 hours out of these products for the lips, and they wear so incredibly well, and I do feel like it's a good product. Even though I don't like matte lips, I do like this formula. So I've been reaching for these, and that kind of just happened right on my vanity. And I've been using those a lot these last couple of days. And that is pretty much the entire look for today. Now that we have all the details for the entire face look for today, let me show you the swatches of the 12-pan palette. I ordered just one, as I stated earlier. It's the Moonstone, so I'm going to show you the top row. The top row is all matte, all the basic shades that you absolutely need to create a look. Basic colors, transition shades, colors to set your concealer or your primer. If you do use eyeshadow primer, these lighter shades there. So those are those first four. And here are the four colors from the center row. Look at how beautiful those are. Now this shade here that looks kind of light and silvery actually feels more like a topper. It has a little bit of a pinky tone to it, so it's not quite silver, which I personally like, and I think it's really pretty, and that would be a really nice topper to put on over the top of any of these shades. And I do like how these colors have some pigment. That dark gray has like a fine, like a microfine glitter to it. This one here is stunning and it's beautiful. It's like a classic metallic finish eyeshadow formula. And then this one is like a silky kind of suede finish matte, which I think is just perfection. Now let's watch that bottom row. Wow. Let me show you this bottom row. Look at the intensity of that bottom row. Morphe is not playing around. Do you see how intense these are? And this is just swirling my finger a few times to pick up enough product to show you. That is intense. That's insane. That's just, wow. Bold, intense color. That is beautiful. Those are the perfect tones to do a very cool tone, smoky look. I know I've said this a few times and I'll say it again. The formula in these palettes are so different than what we've come to expect. So different. Night and day difference, honestly, from their older formulas. Now, they do have some other eyeshadow palettes that are cardboard material that I've talked about in previous videos that have that kind of wave look to them where there's a molten metal shade in the very center. Those are still on the Ulta site. Those are actually very good, but these are a much more improved formula than that. Those were good. So this is just, these are wow. I am really impressed with what they've done with this packaging, this formula, this range of colors. There's something for everyone. I will link everything down below so you can check it out for yourself, and I'll also link everything else that I use to create this entire look. Thank you for being here, for watching. Take care, you guys, and I'll catch you very soon. Bye-bye.